Hello, continuing my AutoCAD tutorial. So we're just looking at the shaft and the handle. There's nothing particularly tricky about these from a CAD perspective, although students do often ask questions about interpreting the drawing. So we're just going to have a quick look at those. Now, I have taken a screenshot and I've opened that in Paint so I can draw on it. So the outline of the part is this. Yeah, this is the outline of the part here. Let's do that in red, then we can see. So the outline of the part there is this up here, around the corner, up and along and there. Okay, so that's the actual part that you need to draw. Everything else is just dimensions. These green lines here, there should be a gap between them. I need a highlighter really, don't we? We've got a highlighter? No, it's not. I can make my brush thicker though, can't I? Size, there we are. Yeah, so these green lines, these lines here are extension lines for the dimension, as are these lines here. Okay, so that tells us that this distance here is diameter 5, and this tells us that this distance here is diameter 7. Okay, so because we've got that diameter symbol there, we know it's circular. So it's generally cylindrical in form. Okay, and that's it really. So yeah, that's your outline of that. Okay, I don't think there's any other questions that people tend to ask about this. So we'll just open up the. So that was the handle, wasn't it? So we're just going to open up the shaft. Yeah, so we're just going to open up the shaft now. So I'll go back to the snipping tool and just take a shot of our snipping tool. Okay, and then we'll go back to Paint and we will File, New, don't save. So we can draw over this one as well. So there are a couple of points of interest here. Again, if we're looking here, the actual outline, I'll do that in red. Let me embiggen my brush slightly. There we go. So the actual outline is that vertical line there, and then all the way along, up, down, along there, and all the way along there. Okay, so that's the actual outline. Okay, everything else is dimension lines. People ask about these, I'll do this in blue, about these tram lines here. Okay, and about what the M6 means there. So when you see M in front of anything, it means it's a metric screw thread. Okay, so that tells us it's a metric screw thread that's 6 millimeters in diameter. Okay, and these tram lines here also tell us it's a screw thread. Why do we use tram lines? Well, if you imagine a screw, if you looked at it on the side, then you'd get this kind of shape, wouldn't you? You'd get the zigzag. Now, back in day when I was young, and I was even younger, we had to draw this by hand using a pencil and a ruler. And if you imagine, you might have a complicated part, might have lots and lots of holes in it, might have lots and lots of screw threads. And drawing every single screw thread by hand, drawing all the zigzags, is effort in it. We don't want to do that. So instead of drawing all the zigzags by hand, all we do is we just draw tram lines that indicate that that's where the screw thread is, and that's what that shows there. Okay, so the tram lines indicate that it's a screw thread, and the M6 tells us that it's a metric screw thread, 6 millimeters diameter. Okay, one last word about screw threads. If you imagine you had a hole, there's a hole in our table. Yeah, so if you imagine that, there we are, that's all solid around our blue hole. Yeah, if we wanted to cut a screw thread into our hole, we'd have to cut out into the rest of our surface, wouldn't we? So that means that when we put a screw thread on a hole, we drill the hole smaller than the screw thread. When we put a screw thread on a shaft, obviously we're cutting in to the material. So the shaft is the same size as the screw thread. So this would be 6 millimeter diameter bar, and we cut that screw thread into the shaft. For a 6mm screw thread threaded hole, we drill it at say 5mm so we can cut out into the material. Alright, that's the last thing we need to know about that. Obviously, again, this is a generally cylindrical part. We can tell that because we've got that diameter symbol there again, and we've also got that second view that just shows us what's going on. So that's looking from this end. Yeah, we can see this bit there, and we can see the head part there, and we've got this hole that goes all the way through as well, diameter 5 hole going all the way through that. So would probably be helpful, he says, when you do it, you could perhaps include some hidden detail that show that hole going all the way through for clarity. And that is, I think, everything that you need to know about that particular drawing. Thank you very much.